Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I will be tracking a spring warm up followed by a storm this week, bringing heavy rain and snow across the country. Then, as we turn into next week, an intense storm is possible with more rain, snow, and possibly a widespread severe weather episode across the deep south. And then also the long range weather forecast with more cold and snow possible for late February and early March. As we go here during the early to middle portion of this week, we will be warming up with some spring like temperatures moving up into portions of southeastern Canada, but more so into the eastern two-thirds of the United States. As we move into this afternoon, these are your high temperatures across the country here in the lower 48. We're talking widespread 60s from the Missouri Valley southward here, and even some 70s down into portions of Texas and the central Gulf Coast states in Florida this afternoon. That continues a little bit farther to the east as we go into Tuesday afternoon. These are your high temperatures. We'll be getting into the 50s and 60s across parts of the mid-Atlantic then as we get into Tuesday afternoon. But if you guys are with me on this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below. You get each and every day those daily weather forecast updates at 9 a.m. And also here, hit the like button down below. It's the thumbs up button. You won't miss out on any of these weather forecast updates, and it helps to spread all of this weather information out to more and more people, so I definitely appreciate that. But going back over the past 24 hours, we did see some heavy rain across the west coast here, across western portions of Washington State, western Oregon, and coastal California. We did pick up some decent rains, around an inch or over an inch, especially to northwestern California over the past 24 hours. Also some decent snows back across the west as well, especially the Sierra Nevadas picking up well over a foot of snow over the past 24 hours with our new storm system. And that trough will continue to dig down across the southwestern United States into the Four Corners region here later on this afternoon, and really continue to stay parked across portions of the southwest into West Texas as we head through early this week on Tuesday, February 7th. And you can see that as we go through this evening, we're going to see kind of some quiet weather conditions. A low pressure system will start to get going all the way far south into West Texas and northern Mexico. We could have some snow and light rain showers up here across portions of northern Wisconsin, the Arrowhead of Minnesota, down across Iowa, but that will be more of a nuisance type of event. Very heavy snow up here in British Columbia, but our next storm system we're watching is across northern Mexico. That will bring in some precipitation chances across the Red River here into southern Oklahoma, north and central Texas during the noon time frame on Tuesday. Some of this lighter rain will be spreading up through the Tennessee and Ohio river valleys as well. But by the time we get into overnight Tuesday night, and especially turning into Wednesday morning around 6 a.m., widespread heavy rain and some scattered thunderstorms across the Arklatex here along that I-20 corridor here into East Texas, and that includes the Houston area on up into the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Texarkana, and then back southwestward here from there. And it does look like we do have a severe weather risk, a lower end risk going into the day on Tuesday tomorrow. We do have a marginal risk for severe storms across southeast Texas, including the Houston area, Corpus Christi on up toward Tyler, Texas, and then getting into Louisiana, places like Shreveport and Baton Rouge. We might have to watch out for a couple of isolated tornadoes and some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We're not too concerned about hail because the instability will actually be lower than what we usually see during the spring or summer months. So just generally a couple of isolated tornadoes and some stronger wind gusts to around 60 miles per hour is what we have to watch out for on Tuesday. But other than that, if you don't see severe weather, a lot more of us will be seeing some heavy rainfall from Tuesday into Wednesday, widespread 1 to 2 inch rainfall amounts in these blue and purple shaded colors from southern Missouri southwestward toward the I-20 corridor here into East Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, getting into eastern Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas as well. And that does spell trouble for at least the potential for flash flooding in that marginal to slight risk zone in Dallas-Fort Worth there up into eastern portions of Oklahoma and western Arkansas is under that slight risk for flash flooding on Tuesday into Wednesday here early to midweek. As we go into Wednesday, though, it does become a little bit more interesting. We start opening up the the Gulf of Mexico here with the dew points rising all the way northward toward Memphis here and toward the Little Rock area into the lower 60s. So a lot more of a deeper warm sector with this system. And we have that trough trying to take more of a negative tilt as well, with some pretty strong winds in the mid-levels here with the mid-level jet on Wednesday afternoon. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center has hoisted a more widespread area for a level 1 of 5 on the severe weather scale, a marginal risk across East Texas, and then farther east here into Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And then some of this could be spreading up into southern Tennessee through the day on Wednesday. And you can see a solid squall line will try to get going through the day on Wednesday into Wednesday evening across the Arklatex, and then farther east into Mississippi, Alabama, and then just generally some stratiform rainfall across the Missouri Valley, downstate Illinois, and into portions of Kentucky, southern Indiana, some heavier rainfall amounts there. And then as we go into the morning hours on Thursday, that cold front will extend up here from Indiana down through Kentucky, Tennessee, and portions of the central Gulf Coast states, possibly some ongoing strong and severe storms down here across Alabama into northwest Florida as we head into the opening stages of our day on Thursday. Then a deformation snow band will be setting up across southwest Wisconsin, back through eastern Iowa, into northern and northeastern Missouri through the morning hours on Thursday. And you do see some heavy rainfall, though, with this system. We do see a lot of those 1 to 3 inch rainfall amounts from Chicago, Indianapolis, farther south towards the Memphis area, and then all the way southward toward New Orleans through that Wednesday and Thursday time frame. That does spell more trouble for at least a marginal threat for flash flooding here across the Illinois, Missouri Valley southward to the central Gulf Coast states through the middle and end of this week. But like I said, that deformation snow band on the northwestern side of the system will be there. There'll be a narrow corridor of some marginally cold temperatures going into the morning hours on Thursday around 6 a.m. And zooming this in here, you do see some upper 20s, lower 30s, even some middle 30s here with those marginally cold temperatures, with the wet snow flying out here across portions of the Midwest down into the Missouri Valley. And there will be a narrow corridor where we could be picking up some decent snows across portions of Wisconsin, getting into eastern Iowa and northern Missouri as we get into that Thursday and Friday time frame here to end this week. And zooming this in, the European forecast model is actually forecasting a few to several inches worth of snow. So yes, a shovelable and plowable snowfall is possible from the UP of Michigan back through central southwest Wisconsin and then into eastern Iowa and northern portions of Missouri going through late this week. Some of these models here are painting 8, 9, 10 inches. I think this is a little bit overdone, but I do think a general 3 to 6 inch snow is definitely possible here from Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, up through Madison, Wisconsin, Green Bay, and then on up into the UP of Michigan late this week. That system will finally exit here the United States to the Canadian provinces as we go in toward Friday morning with some lighter snow and moderate snow bands up into portions of Ontario, Quebec, Canada, and that will stretch farther east into portions of Maine as well. That cold front will extend across the Carolinas and Georgia into northern Florida as we get into the morning hours on Friday. Some heavier rainfall down there, but I think the severe weather threat will be diminishing as we go through the day on Friday. Looking at the snowfall potential Friday into Saturday as we get into early on this upcoming weekend, we could see another 3 to 6 inch snow up here across portions of southern Ontario, southern Quebec, and then stretching over here into northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and portions of Maine. So another plowable snow for you guys up there. But generally speaking, over the next few days, over the next 5-6 days time going through this weekend, we're talking about some heavy rainfall centered on portions of East Texas on up through the mid-Mississippi Valley and Ohio Valley regions, so definitely some beneficial rains across some of these areas. But as we look through the long-range weather forecast towards the middle of the month, this goes all the way through February 15th, it does remain very much above average with our temperatures centered on the Great Lakes and the Northeast and much of the North Central Plains during this period, with below normal temperatures across portions portions of the West Coast, including California, and that will continue into the third week in February toward the 19th time frame, above normal temperatures across the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Ohio Valley, and really all across the eastern two-thirds of the country, with those below normal temperatures favored across much of the West Coast, centered on California and Nevada. It also does look very busy as well, very active. We have an active jet stream as we get through the middle of the month, and that really extends into the second half of February as well across many of these zones from the Pacific Southwest all the way through the middle of the country and into the Great Lakes regions as we go all the way through February 19th. This is some good news as we're seeing some above normal precipitation favored over the central and northern plains, where we desperately need a lot of this moisture, a lot of this rainfall. We still have these severe, extreme, and exceptional drought areas, especially into Nebraska, western Kansas, getting into Oklahoma here. So that is definitely some good news to be picking up some of this moisture and rainfall here, whatever we can get through the middle and second half of February. We do have another significant, probably more intense system moving in towards late next weekend and the following week, next week. This will be digging far south toward the Baja of California into northwestern Mexico on Sunday, February 12th, and then that will start to eject across the middle of the country again, going into the middle of next week on that Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe on February 14th and 15th. We do have a little bit of blocking ahead of the system, so it is a concern that this could slow down in the next couple of model runs, so that will be something to watch over the next few days. But generally speaking, going in towards next Monday, we do have the potential for more rain down here across the Arklatex, getting into Oklahoma, much of north central Texas around the noon time frame, and then that will extend farther east into portions of the Missouri Valley, Arkansas, down through Louisiana, possibly some severe weather as well breaking out during the morning hours on Tuesday, and then another deformation snow band will start to set up somewhere across the Central Plains getting in toward the Tuesday morning time frame. But generally speaking, another widespread heavy rainfall event for much of the central southern plains, and these are some of the areas that desperately need some of the rain into Kansas, Oklahoma, the panhandle of Texas here from that Monday into Tuesday time frame. We could be seeing another widespread 1 to 2 inch rainfall event here, and then as this pushes eastward, we're going to have the system start to occlude, and we're going to see the snowfall here across a narrow zone up here into Nebraska, portions of the Dakotas into southern Minnesota as we get into later in the day on Tuesday, and then that cold front with heavy rain and severe weather, possibly more widespread severe weather than what we're seeing this week across the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and the Deep South. And it is concerning already. Some of the models are already latching on to some of these dew points rising well into the 50s, into the 60s across the Arklatex and the Deep South, and even a more significant mid-level jet as we go in toward the middle of next week than what we are seeing this week. So that is concerning for severe weather, and I do think the potential for severe weather is there in these highlighted zones in the orange shaded colors here. I do think severe weather will be possible, but where I circled in the red from portions of eastern Arkansas, northern Louisiana eastward towards southern southwestern Tennessee, much of Mississippi and Alabama, you really need to pay attention to the weather next week, as I do think a more significant round of severe weather will be likely to unfold as we get into early to mid next week. So that will be something to keep an eye on. Then that system will continue to push up into southwestern portions of the Great Lakes, into portions of southeastern Canada toward the middle of next week. That cold front will be extending down through the northeast, the mid-Atlantic, and the southeast during this time frame. It looks like all rain for the I-95 corridor again, all the way southward through Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, and portions of Florida going in toward the middle of next week, and also some very heavy rain during that period from Wednesday into Thursday next week as well. So again, another round of heavy rain across the eastern two-thirds of the country, and then another stripe of some snowfall, some accumulating snow in a narrow zone, probably farther northwest with this track as we go into the middle and late portion of next week from the Rockies all the way northward through Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, the northwoods of Wisconsin, and then up and across the UP of Michigan and into southeastern Canada during this time. But as we go into the third week in February, the last full week or so in February here, it's going to get pretty busy as well. We have the warmer temperatures favored across across the eastern two-thirds of the country. But as you look up into western and central Canada here during that 19th through 26th time frame, it does look a lot colder. We're going to start to gather and organize a lot of this cold air to the northwest during that time frame. And then by the time we start to move in toward early March, all the way through March 5th, there are signs that we have another Arctic blast moving into the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and the Ohio Valley. And it remains to be seen how far south this goes, but it does look likely to unfold getting into late February and especially that first full week into March. It does look very busy to end the month of February as well, especially across the northwest here, across the Pacific Northwest, southwestern Canada, and the eastern two-thirds of the country, with drier conditions underneath that across Texas, Oklahoma, and the desert Southwest. That will be setting up a very active storm track with that subtropical jet remaining activated toward the end of the month. Southern stream storms from Texas on up through the Tennessee Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast will be possible. To the northwest of this track, we could see some heavy snow set up anywhere from the Missouri Valley through the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and interior New England. Underneath that track, we might have to watch out for a wintry mix of rain, snow, sleet, and freezing rain from the I-95 corridor down through portions of the Tennessee Valley. And then to the southeast of this track, more heavy rainfall, storms, and possibly severe weather across the central Gulf Coast states, the Carolinas here, and much of the southeast going through that last week in February. Well, to recap my weather forecast, a spring warm-up is upon us here through this week, followed by a storm with heavy rain and snow as well. Then an intense storm looks to loom next week with rain, snow, and possibly more widespread severe storms across the deep south. And then the long-range weather forecast does favor more cold and snow for late February into early March in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you liked the video down below, press the thumbs up button. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Monday, everybody. A great work week ahead, and I will see you all in the next video.